Howdy folks, CP Plus is coming up this weekend and we can expect lots of things to be released. Today I have the first one that I've gotten to test out. I'm actually in Hong Kong right now, but I'm taking it with me to test on the trip, so I thought I would introduce it now, show you it, give you a little bit of footage through the lens, and then hear what you'd like to actually hear tested whilst I'm traveling with it in Japan. It's this guy. And I find it a really interesting lens. If you're into astro, then Sigma already has a number of different lenses available. I've got some notes here, so let me just read off. You've got a 20mm f1.4 as well as a 24mm 1.4, and something pretty remarkable and unique for astrophotographers, the 14mm f1.4 art lens. Now that lens is big and heavy and very specialized. This guy is even bigger and heavier again, and it's a 15mm diagonal fisheye, full frame, and it's also an f1.4. Now there's a lot of interesting things about that. There have actually been some pretty remarkable fisheyes released over the years. You've got the famous Canon Zoom, and then Nikon have the trio of insane fisheye lenses from back in the day. So one or two of them can actually see behind themselves. This one is almost able to do that. Opening up the box, here's the lens itself. It is big and heavy. This is about a bit over 1.3 kilograms, so that makes it about 200 grams heavier than the 14mm. The really interesting thing about this guy, whilst this is a 15mm and the other one that I mentioned is a 14mm, this has significantly wider field of view. Now, how does that work? A typical 15mm lens is going to give you about 110 degrees. Just for reference, I'm now filming on a 24mm. This one gives you a full 180 degrees. Now that's diagonally, but still, how does it do that if it's only a 15mm? Well, let me throw it on. Actually, let me just quickly show you around it, then I'll throw it on. So, taking a look at it, it is an art lens. You've got your aperture that you can select here, or you can do it in camera. You've got the autofocus manual focus switch. You've also got a lock so that if you're doing astro and you've finally got critical focus, you can lock it so then the focus ring can't be accidentally bumped and have you lose it. You can also click or de-click the aperture. In the back of the lens, you have a rear filter holder, and interestingly, that was just the cap. Interestingly, in the box comes this little cutout that you can use to cut your filters from filter paper, so then you can slide them in the back. It also comes with a tool for taking the tripod foot off and this rubber ring that you can then replace once you take this guy off. Obviously you would then have a big naked band there, so you can put this over there, which then kind of covers that. It also has a very nifty lens cap that has hiding spots for your filters in there. But let's throw it on. So this is 24mm at f2.8. And here we are at 15mm at f2.8. Now, interestingly, this guy says its closest focusing is 38.5 centimeters or 15.2 inches. But right now, I'm about there. That's about my limit for the eye. And my nose is about 2 inches in front of the lens. So remember, you have to keep in mind, that's the distance to your focal plane, not to the front element. And this is a big lens. And I'm able to go down to f1.4 on this guy. So despite having this insane field of view, I'm able to get a reasonably soft background on this guy if you get in nice and close to it. Now, what we mean by a diagonal fisheye is you're not getting, you know, on a circular fisheye, you have just a circle image in the middle of the frame. I actually need to step closer to this because I'm so small. Just so you know, there, I'm touching the front, and there I'm touching the edges of the lens. So that's what I mean by 180 degrees. As I bring my hands forward, you can see it basically, what would turn into a circle is instead stretched down into the corners. So on this scene, it's not too dramatic, but I think there will be some really cool ways to test this guy out. So let me know how you'd like to see it tested. A couple of the specs on this guy, as I said, it is bigger, heavier, and I think it's also more complex than the 14mm lens. This one has 21 elements in 15 groups, including 4 FLD elements, 3 SLDs, and 2 spherical elements. They're really focusing on that this lens gives you outstanding sharpness and chroma and flare suppression, even wide open, because they want this to be the ultimate astro lens. Now, I am going to some areas out of Tokyo. If it happens to be a nice clear night, then I'll try to do some astro tests with this. But I'm also going to some really crowded festivals and some touristy places and whatnot, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of effects I can create with such an ultra-wide lens. Other features of this lens: it is dust and splash resistant and also oil repellent on the front element. It has their latest linear HLA motor. I can't hide my phone here because the thing is so wide. As I mentioned, it's got the manual focus lock. Now, this is directly from the press release, so don't take this as my quote. By correcting sagittal flare and other aberrations, the lens can correctly reproduce bright points of light across the whole frame, even wide open, making it ideal for astrophotography. So I think for you astro guys, it will be really interesting, but I think it's also may have interesting applications for other things like shooting in busy, crowded, dense cityscapes or landscapes even, or architectural, where you don't want to get too much of the distortion, although we're obviously getting some here, but to be able to get so much wider, like I said, 180-degree field of view, instead of about 110 that you would expect on a 15mm lens. It's kind of crazy. Now, it's not seeing down 180 degrees by any way. You're not seeing my feet or something like that. But out at the edges, you know, my hands really are about level with the camera there, my fingertips, and we're still, looks like, still able to kind of see them. So it'll be interesting how that plays out. You'll be photographing and then people in front of you might look reasonably normal, but then you'll have kind of people crowding in from the corners who are actually, you know, basically standing beside the photographer rather than in front of them where you would typically find a subject. So it could be quite an interesting experiment. I will put details of where you can find this guy at B&H Photo and whatnot below. And please do let me know any feedback or questions you have and how you'd like to see me test this guy whilst I'm traveling around for the next 2 weeks in Tokyo and rural Japan as well. And I'll see you guys soon. Lots more coming from the floor of CP Plus very soon.